Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so therapy session time, man. Nothing to do with me. I'm fine. But I did see something on the internet that it's one of them topics, man. About time to jump on in and see what we can say here. There's a rapper by the name of BTB Savage. He's out of Texas somewhere, man. And he went on Vlad TV. Anybody's familiar with Vlad TV? I think the whole internet's familiar with Vlad, but just in case you're not. Vlad is known for interviewing rappers, people of the hip-hop scene, people of the street scene, and basically is known for interviewing guys and asking them tough questions that often either get them in trouble with the law or trouble with the streets. And this is yet another one of those situations where it just kind of panned out that way. I'm going to call him Savage, BTB Savage. Found himself in a situation where basically several months back, he was trying to connect with some rapper of some sort to collaborate on a song, and he led them to his house. He went, they were gonna do, I guess, the music at his house studio or something like that. And to make a long story short, they tried to rob him while his wife and kid, his lady and kid was in the house. So it turned deadly. He was able to walk out of there with his life. It's healthy, the Savage did, but one of the robbers that came in the house didn't. It panned out that his Savage's girlfriend ultimately was the one who was able to neutralize that person after a long struggle. Savage also ended up getting shot in the arm and his just basically destroyed his elbow. His girlfriend accidentally shot him when she was trying to shoot the perk, but the whole situation was just very bad. But he was able to survive it. Self-defense, got away. It was all legal in that state. Everything would have been fine if he would have just not desired this clout, man. This clout. So, this individual Savage, he went back home to where all this happened and took pictures of himself standing in the blood of the person that his girlfriend killed. Standing in the blood, taking credit for the killing, all of that. And then he went on Vlad TV and proceeded to tell a good 20-minute story of his recount of what took place for all of us to see. And then proceeded to post more pictures of him standing in the blood at the crime scene. And it was not 2 days after that Vlad TV video was released where he was shot dead in his car. This morning, his Mercedes vehicle, they caught up with him, whoever they were, and did him that way. And of course, there's a lot of different things that could have led to this. Obviously, it didn't have to be related necessarily, although the cops have come out and essentially said they think it is. The cops believe, without telling us everything that they wanted to say, they essentially alluded to the idea that they're very certain that they know what happened here. And it ain't hard to tell, that kind of thing. They're essentially saying the same thing we are without saying it at all. Vlad TV's video interview there did not help this cause, man. It didn't help. A lot of people want to get on Vlad's case. I mean, I have a point of view to look at. I also look at Savage's case as well. When you play with people's pain and you get on the internet and give a full recount of what took place, he got peoples. Whoever this person was, he has people that love him. He might have had family, kids, a mother still alive, good people that loved him just because he made some horrible decisions. You understand what I'm saying? Just because he made some horrible decisions and lost his life, it did not mean that he didn't have some really sweet people who would be very, very, very heartbroken at hearing you not giving him any mercy, regardless of whether or not he deserved it or not. And I think that's what hurt him. I listened to the interview in its entirety, and one of the things that went wrong there was this individual Savage had an opportunity to end this situation without further doing any damage. And he made it clear to all of us that he wanted this person to die. Now, that is in his heart. That was in his heart. That's what he wanted, but that is not something that person's people needed to see. And the people that protect the good people around them needed to see them witness. You understand what I'm trying to say? And that's what it really comes down to. If my nephew did something and got himself in some trouble and it goes a certain way, it's still his sons and his daughters that I'm considering, regardless if my nephew did something wrong or not. There's some good people attached to him that I'm going to want protected, that I'm going to want their minds protected, that I'm going to want their lives not to go a certain way. And if they see what you have to say, maybe it sends them into a space where that, it's never the same. They've already lost their dad. Now they got to hear what happened. Now the internet got to hear what happened, and everybody they know got to hear what happened. It just becomes a situation. It's just like I said about something entirely unrelated, but it's, the Draymond Green punch situation with Jordan Poole. It wasn't about the punch necessarily. It was about everybody seeing it. It was about everybody seeing it. And that's how I feel about that self-defense situation. You can get away with that to a degree. If his peoples don't want to come after you, they see it as fair game. That man tried to rob you. It didn't work out for him. We can mourn that. But you getting up here trying to make yourself famous off of that like you Gucci Mane or something, that ain't smart, bro. That ain't smart. And that's what I look at. I think of that Gucci Mane situation, and I remember the Soulja Boy situation, and we've heard of both of those accounts where somebody tried to come into their house and it didn't go well for the person that went into their house. And I just really believe Savage thought of their situations and figured he could cloud up off on this one. But just the thing about it is, those are very wealthy people who can afford to protect themselves from what comes after. You got to move a certain way after you go through something like that. Just off of sheer PTSD, if nothing else, you got to move different. And he was somebody, and listening to him speak, he wanted us to believe that violence wasn't nothing to him. That he could be around that he'd been around that, and that it didn't faze him. But what didn't seem to register was how much danger he was in after that. What didn't seem to register is how he would need to move to survive after that. And that's what I understand about a lot of these guys. They got a lot of confidence, but they don't have a lot of understanding about the wide world around them. So they don't know how to protect themselves from whatever it may be out there. They think the world's a certain way until the consequences come and hit them. I think 6ix9ine ran into them consequences when them dudes ran up and got him at LA Fitness. I've been paying attention to him, and I've been trying to figure out if he paid them dudes on some Jussie Smollett, or if they actually, caught up with him and used some strangers and it didn't go well. And I'm thinking the latter, because I look at his eyes and I don't see that same spark. Even after the whole thing with the courts went down, he was still confident, he's still cocky and all that. Because at the end of the day, with all of those things that had happened, get kidnapped, all that, he wasn't attacked by no strangers. He wasn't attacked by no people he couldn't see coming. See, it's one thing to get involved in the gang and then everything that goes on in the gang, and you doing all this in the gang. You know who's next to you, left of you, to the right of you, you're intertwined with them. And you got the cops that you run to them and they save you from the gang and all this different stuff that he wouldn't hide behind the police, right? But he couldn't really do that with the situation. Couldn't do it. Can't run behind the police in a situation where you out at LA Fitness in Florida somewhere random and some dudes just run up on you. And I think he understands now. He understands now what the real world is. He understands now that what he was doing in 19, 20, 21, 22, testing everybody's gangster, nobody's forgot that, and that still stands, bro. If you're going to do that, you got to understand that stands. Ain't nobody going to say, oh, that was like 6 years ago. We ain't worried about that. You went to different cities and said they was soft, bro. That stands. That stands forever. You got to literally undo your entire energy so that the world knows that you're not on that at all. And he didn't do that. He went around saying, ha, SMD. And it's like, bro, that's not the world you're in. That's your confidence and your ignorance allowing you to think that you're bulletproof and that this world can't bring you a trauma from what it is that you do. Same thing goes to the savage individual. There's trauma coming with what it is that you do. You survived that instance. The next one, you got to be prepared for that one too. And that's what it really comes down to. If you're going to go on Vlad TV, tell everybody what you did. Tell everybody what your lady did. Paint it out to be the most beautiful thing. I mean, the kid's account of was just, you could tell he was living in the moment of his life because everything he recounted to us was like as if he was in a movie or something. He remembered his left hand, his right hand, the person. He was recounting that stuff like it was the only thing he was here to do. And it was great TV to watch for 25 minutes, but I just knew better. I know better. When you have those type of words to say on a platform like Vlad, it's going to reach the people who would be most hurt by that. It's going to reach the people who would be most hurt by that, man. And that's what it really come down to. They was already in a space where they let you know early what they was on, just by having it go down the way that it did. That should have told you these weren't the people to play with. That should have told you that you would need to move a certain way if you were to disrupt with them. They already tried you, and they didn't win. And you gonna provoke them again? All right. And then call them off, said they was soft, said they left their mans. That was another thing. He let the world know that they left their guy there, that they didn't come back for him. They left him for dead, called him scared, said that they could get it the best. He was just bragging about this man's death, bragging about the whole thing. And I'm like, look, I don't think he made the man who died sound like a punk or anything like that. But when you let the world know that you had no mercy for that man and he was pleading for his life and you didn't care, that's the type of things that creates a demon in a pained heart. When a person's hurting already and they're mourning somebody and they have to tuck their tail because the situation was their fault, and then they hear you doing this and then they have to see the pictures of you standing in the blood. Do you have any idea how much trauma you are stirring up? Standing in the blood. Like if his kids were to see that, not even now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, what did his family have to say for that? And that's what the people around the family would have to answer. The people who love the family, the people who love the neighborhood, they the ones that got to answer. What happened to the man who stood in my daddy's blood, who went on Vlad TV and let them all know that this went down that way and he get to be, what, he get to live 20 years? He get to live the rest of his life? Like, that's what the people around the family are going to have to answer. And a lot of times, depending on who those people are, they're going to answer that question this way. This is how they answer that question. And that's what people need to understand when they play with people's pain. When you play with people's pain, they'll throw their whole soul away for this type of principle, so that they don't have to tell that 9-year-old kid that the man who did that is still walking around. You understand what I'm saying? And so it's like, man, when you're from certain areas and certain lifestyle, when you know you're at the bottom and people don't have a whole lot and they desperate enough, you know what I mean? And one of the things that Savage was telling us in this interview was that this man had been shot 3 times and still was refusing to leave there without something. That should tell you right now that he wasn't in there for himself. That should tell you right there that he wasn't in there for himself. He got shot 3 times and everybody left him, and he still wasn't trying to leave out of there without something valuable because he was that desperate, because he was that broke. And, you know, here was something else that I said in this video, in one of these therapy sessions that reared its ugly head in this Savage video. Something I warned everybody about. Sometimes when you're rich, some of my rich friends who follow me on here, when y'all wealthy, bro, some of the people who are after your money are going to look as if they're rich as you, bro. Savage said that the people who came to his house had $20,000 in cash. That's why he had no problem letting them in, because they had cash on them. He knew it was time to get the bag. They were going to do business. They had business. They were ready to pay. Except for the fact they weren't there to give him that money. They were there to take. And he didn't know that. It's the same thing I said. I was like, be careful. I said this about John Moran's situation. Just because some of these people around you look rich don't mean they're not plotting on your paper, bro. You got a lot more than them. And in Savage's case, it might be different, but it probably is the same. He has more than them. They able to show that they have a certain amount of money, but you don't know where they got that from. And the next lick is you. And so it's like, people got to understand, just because a person look like they got it and can put forth the image that they got it, don't mean that they got a damn thing. I'm from LA. People make a living out of that. Whole city do that. Fake it till you make it. But honestly, in some other places, maybe it's not like that, and they get caught up, man. They don't know. Think they're ready to do good business just because somebody else drive up in a nice car. We didn't heard stories of famous people robbing people. Like Pooh Shiesty. Pooh Shiesty decided to rob some dude for some shoes, and he was driving a Lamborghini when he did it. Pulled up in a Lamborghini and robbed somebody for some damn shoes. Allegedly. And so this is a situation where I'm like, yo, don't ever think somebody's above doing something just because they got something or look like they got something or because they could present a certain image. Don't ever think that their bills can't be such that they will be desperate enough to still try to get more money or to steal money from you. It's not just because they look rich and they can afford to have this diamonds or that clothes don't mean that they're not $40 million in debt, fam. Like literally in some cases. So you just got to be careful, man, especially the rich people, the wealthy ones. You got to be very careful, bro. It gets tricky. It gets tricky when it's that much money, man. Look how hard people go for a little bit of money. Go to 12 hours shift for $15 an hour. What you think they're gonna do for $15 million? You know what I'm saying? So these type of things, it's like, look, I look at Savage's situation, I say, damn, there go the lesson right there. There go the lesson right there. Because he thought they had money. He let them around him in his house, and then they went down like this. And so it's just like, man, if you're gonna play in these streets, you gotta know how to move, man. At the end of the day, it ain't deeper than that. You better know how to move, man. It's a lot of people who are confident, but a lot of them are confident didn't make it. And Savage, unfortunately, is another version of that, man. Real confident, real brave, but it's like, you got to be able to understand you are not made out of steel out here. People will come after you for certain things, especially when it's pain and trauma involved, and kids possibly involved and stuff like that. Mama's crying, sisters crying, people, all kind of stuff, man. And people don't have a lot to begin with, and you taking away somebody who potentially was brave-hearted enough to bring home real money. He was brave-hearted. I mean, I ain't agree with him. He would have lost his life if he came into most people's houses like that, but he was brave-hearted. And at some point in time, as evil as his intentions was, and as evil as he was acting in that house, at some point in time, you gotta know, once you decide to take a person's life, or when they pleading for theirs, there's a consequence to that. I don't care what he did all up to that point. Now he ain't got no more bullets. He shot 3 times, and you still talking about smoke him some more, and then you want to tell us about it? Man, I don't think any of that's good energy, first of all. I don't think any of that's good energy. I was always taught to forgive. And I don't know if you can forgive in a situation like that. That's a whole lot of horror. But once this shifts from you have a chance, you got that person neutralized, it shifts, that's when it could go left. And I think, this is just my mind, I think that's what ultimately sealed his fate. Letting all of us know that he had no mercy. You know what I mean? That's probably what did it. And standing in the blood, of course, didn't help posting that picture. But that interview, anybody that watched that interview that loved that person, you walked away feeling like whatever, I'm not gonna put anything out there, but you're gonna feel very sad about how that played out, and probably it's gonna bring out the worst in you, So I do send good energy to Savage's daughter. I know he had a child there in the house that he was trying to protect during this process. They both were. I send healing energy to the lady who was ultimately the mother of that child. She's now, having to go through this process, maybe as a target herself. But I don't know that she would be a target. You know what I mean? It's him. It was his desire to clout chase on this situation that makes it so that this probably took place. Not necessarily it taking place itself, but his energy in regards to just being evil about it. You survived the situation. Your child survived the situation. Your woman survived the situation. And you want to now rub that situation in the world's face to make yourself, famous. I don't think that was a good decision. Obviously, it didn't play out this way. Now, I'm looking at this. Vlad TV, how much culpability did he have to this situation? A lot, because I don't think he really had that kid on there for any reason other than to talk about that specific situation. And I think Vlad TV, by the way he was talking at the end of that conversation, and you couple that with how many other times things have gone left because of these interviews, I think Vlad TV pretty much knew this was going to happen. About as much as I would have known, rather. You know what I mean? Not to say that he did it or anything, but I'm saying, like, the way that he was talking at the end of the interview, he really was concerned about that kid's safety after that. And it's like, bro, you and I both know that kid was going to this was going to happen to Savage, bro. If it wasn't going to be that soon, it was going to happen because he was not going to let up. As long as they were going to allow him to be famous off of this, he was going to continue to eat off of this. He probably would have made that picture his album cover. Like, you just can't. If you're Vlad TV, what you got to understand is there's a reaction to that, bro. One of the things that Vlad TV said in the interview, was that he had a situation like that in his life where somebody had came into his house on some stuff and he had to put that person down. And even though the person survived, in his mind, he felt vindicated and it didn't feel that bad. He told Savage, putting that man down didn't feel that bad. You felt kind of strong. And I'm like, bro, Vlad, fast forward. Look at what happened to that young man you said that to. It wasn't that bad putting that person down when they came in your house. How'd it turn out for him? Just because you ain't got a soul don't mean you live in a world where consequences don't come for soulless actions. Brother, there's nothing good about first being robbed or being attacked, least of all for sleeping with somebody's ex or whatever the case may be. Vlad described it as him sleeping with somebody's ex and that person came through on some crazy stuff and he had to shoot him or whatever, put him down, whatever. Person survived. But my thing is like, that's not something you should be feeling empty about. That's not something that you should say, I feel good. I killed that man. Like, what are you talking about, bro? What are you talking about? With your voice, what are you actually saying to the world? And see, this is the stuff that comes to me when I'm sitting here watching Vlad and I'm like, yeah, he's putting all these people up here to talk about their problems that could ultimately get them in trouble or killed. And he's also feeding them this venom as they listen to him. Yeah, it bothered me to shoot that man. It felt good to shoot that. Like, brother, do you have any idea that person's soul could have left his body in that situation? He would have had to face all types of spiritual whatever comes next because of you feeling all right, isn't it? Like, I know that ain't nothing to play with. Savage just transitioned right now. He's facing all his situations right now. That ain't nothing to play with. You should be very happy that person survived, Vlad. That's what I have to say to you, bro. You should be very happy that person survived. So you wouldn't have to be dealing with none of this. That's the reality of it. It's the aftermath. Whether you felt good and vindicated from pulling the trigger, you felt like you were a soldier for a second. You want none of that. You were lucky that you were in the state that allowed you to get away with it without it being a murder. Because you can't do that everywhere. Even if they come into your house, you can't do it here. So these type of things, it's like, man, I don't know what type of spirit is in the people that we allow to push content toward us. But we need to start paying attention to this stuff. Read their energy, man. These people ain't right. And it shows in how they speak, let alone in what their actions are. That didn't bother me, shot that man. It didn't, did it? I bet it didn't. Just like it didn't bother you that this kid got shot, did it? And keep letting soulless entities, low frequency entities move about with power. And it's going to come to a head at some point. It's going to come to a head at some point. We can't have these people playing with our heads for too much longer, y'all. I'm telling you. Because that's all it is. They're stirring the pot. They're messing with our heads. They're giving us bad energy and they're watching us run the walls. And this was bad energy. All of it. The whole story, how it panned out, the people end up doing what they did to Savage. Now their souls is lost. His soul lost. Dude who came in the house trying to rob him, soul lost. The people he was trying to feed ain't getting fed. This is all evil, yo. And Vlad just sits at the top of it like, more ratings. Shit is demonic. And I'm not confused. BDF 44, I thank you all for watching.